असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्माम् अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness of ignorance to light of knowledge, and from death, that is a limited existence, to immortality, the unlimitedness. Om, peace, peace, peace. Today's topic and the topics that we will be discussing coming 2 Sundays, they are focused on very practical problems of life. There is almost no theory in it. As such, those who come here to understand Vedanta, they are aware that Vedanta has a very important practical dimension, which is really the most important. But we try to understand things theoretically. That also is very good as an important step to move forward. But here, for these 3 lectures, we will take it for granted that we all have our understanding about the oneness of existence quite clear. The goal is quite clear. And now the question is how to get there. And how it progresses in life. It is like this, that say I need to go to Florida, that is clear. Now where is Florida and how to get there, those things are to be found out, those things are to be explored. If where I am to go, that is a different thing. Means I am not clear about the nature of where to go. But in these 3 coming lectures, today's and the next 2 Sundays, we will presume that we already have this understanding where we want to end up, the goal. Now, the details need to be worked out. We have to find out that how to get there, and therefore we start exploring the connections. As you see, the title of today's talk, we have to explore. We start exploring, like exploring which flights have connections that go to Florida and so forth. So, exploring the connections with that. And how it works, why do we need to explore connections? That is because we have these 2 kind of conflicting things, conflicting, contradictory 2 different awarenesses, let us say, in us. One is a deep sense of oneness. It is there. We are having this very deep, profound awareness that there is oneness. We cannot shake it off. And at the same time, there is this unshakable perception of multiplicity. We see that many around us. Even when we think of one, we are also simultaneously aware of many. And also, when we think of many, we become aware of one. Look at this dilemma. If I see, a person sitting right in front of us, front of me, say Joan, sitting right in front of me. Now, one or many, one or multiple, depends. As a person, if I see the whole, it is one. But the very fact that I am looking at her means it makes two. Moreover, if I start counting the different limbs, it will be still many more. If I start counting the number of hair on the head, that will be quite a number. If I start counting all the cells in the body, that will go into zillions. So it is, while I see it as one, I also see it as many. There is therefore a conflict between the two. We see one and many, whether it is one or whether it is many. And while we have another very important idea present in all this, we want to bridge this gap. You can see this multiplicity, like the rainbow colors springing. The multiplicity is filled with the perception of the senses, thoughts in the mind, and it is very colorful. Oneness is devoid of any specification. Specifications automatically mean multiplicity, like multiplicity of colors. Just as an example, that the sunlight as we see has no particular color as such. But when we let it pass through a prism, we see that it gets separated into 7 colors, many shades in fact. So that become many means there is a distinctive color separations or smell separations. Separation between smell and color again, that how do you know whether a flower is real or a flower is just an appearance made of silk or something. If it is a silk rose or an actual rose, may look exactly identical. But if you see a bee hovering around one of them, then you know that has to be the real rose. A bee has no business to go to a silk rose. So that tells you that there is the distinction there as well. There is the multiplicity involved in that also. It is not just visual, but there are all different senses. They create this multiplicity and this thought, I and the perceiver. I am the perceiver, the world is the perceived. It is, this perception is the basis of all our actions and all our thoughts. Everything is based on this gap between perceiver and the perceived. As the great philosopher Shankara, the great exponent of Vedanta, not just in theory but in practice as well, Shankaracharya, he mentions in his introductory commentary on the aphorisms of Vyasa, the Vedanta aphorisms of Vyasa, and that line is so powerful. The very first line with which he begins, he says that all our perceptions are you and I and you, I and the world. There is, these two elements are involved automatically in each of our perceptions. Even our perceptions about ourselves has these two components. I am perceiving my body, for example, I and body. The two there is this multiplicity, the duality apparent there as well. It is, and these two, they get mixed up. They get mixed up, although they have the opposite characteristics. The characteristics of, say, the perceiver, it has no particular form or, say, a particular quality that you can associate with it, because quality is perceived and not the perceiver. Like color, it is perceived and not the perceiver. So perceiver cannot be thought of as having any quality as such. Quality is perceived, and so perceiver has no particularization that it can be caught in or described. Also, we see that the very conflicting nature of these two, it is explored a lot by all different philosophers and theologians as well. Because this is a point where we start thinking deeply as to what is the nature of reality then, who am I, and so forth. And this gap, that on the one hand we are feeling oneness, and on the other hand we are feeling this multiplicity, this divided nature of reality, that it is fragmented into so many things, I and the world. And so this struggle kind of begins to bridge this gap. And all that we do really in life, everything at the level of thought or at the level of our physical activity, everything really, if you see deeply, is an attempt to bridge this gap, that gap between these two perceptions, perceptions of oneness and perception of multiplicity. We try to bridge this gap, and that is how the desires spring. Our life is full of infinitely many desires. Why I say infinitely? If you start counting, while you are counting, each desire is getting multiplied further. There is as such no end to it. That is why I say infinitely many. Like how many waves do you count on the ocean? By the time you keep on counting and more keep on rising. So similarly count the desires, and they will keep on springing. Infinitely many desires, they come up, but one very characteristic feature of all these desires can be seen as finding oneness, becoming one, in various ways, getting connected. For example, we see desires spring up, desire for protection, desire for life. One of the desires can be seen as protection. I want to survive. One of like the Darwin's theory of evolution rests on this idea that it is struggle for existence. We want to exist. We want to remain protected. Why is the protection? This multiplicity, I and the world appears to be attacking me, eliminating me. It wants, as it were, to eat me up, finish me up, and so I want to protect. And how can you protect yourself? It is not until there is you alone that you can feel safe. If there is world and you, always there is doubt, always there is fear. In one of the Upanishads, therefore, in fact, quite a few Upanishads, you will find this idea that the question was asked that what will be the result of this wisdom of Vedanta, where you realize that transcendental oneness. What is the use of that? Is there any practical utility for that? Why should I get this knowledge? What will I get by that? The answer was given to a great king. His name was Janaka. Janaka, it appears in various of epics like Ramayana. It appears also in Mahabharata. It appears in Upanishads, this name Janaka. Janaka was assured by this sage that abhayam vai janaka prapnose, you will get fearlessness. If you get this knowledge, you will get fearlessness. Another Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, says that otherwise there is no chance of getting to fearlessness. Otherwise the fear will always looming around you, looming large in fact. It says in a categorical term that even if you make a slight separation, if you perceive even a slight separation, then there will be fear for you. It is only when you do not make a separation at all, then only there is cessation of fear. One very good example is our left hand is never scared of right hand. Can you think of my left hand is terribly afraid of my right hand, that it is a stronger hand and so it may beat me? No. Why? Because of the perception of oneness. Left hand is mine, right hand also is mine. I am in both. There is no separation as such there. So there is no fear either. When there is separation, you see, even I and my children, there is fear. Well, today maybe they are good and they are, but tomorrow what may happen, who knows? We read in newspapers how the quarrels between the parents and the children erupt and so forth. Unfortunate, but it happens. Even those who are friends, very close friendships, but yet there is fear. Today it is friendship, tomorrow who knows what will happen. So there is no cessation of fear till we get to that oneness. And so there is this desire for protection, is actually a desire to get to that oneness. Without getting to that, there is no ultimate protection. Try to build walls around you. How to protect those walls will be another question. You raise a big army, who knows whether the army itself will be against you. You cannot say that how can you protect yourself, but when you realize this oneness, now there is nobody else to protect from, and therefore that is the only way that we can become fearless. Then there is love, another very important aspiration, desire that we have is love. The love, and through love we get connected to people, just as through this protection. Idea of protection makes us connect to people, connect to the things. This another way, the desire for love, that is also actually an expression of this craving for oneness. So we see that by love, they too, apparently too, start feeling the sense of one. The pleasures and pains of one of them become automatically, they get shared by another person. So you have that level of oneness there. It is the property and whatever is shared together. Commonly, there is that sense of commonness, means yes, there is oneness. Our home means I and my beloved, we together share this, our home. Instead of saying my home, say our home. I remember that incident. I called one gentleman, his wife picks up the phone. I said, oh, well, sorry, I thought that it is your husband's phone. And she emphatically says, it is ours. Not so it is ours. That sense of togetherness and oneness, that is where the love is seen. In love, the distinction is, the attempt is to obliterate the distinction. Every kind of expression of love, therefore, is really the desire to be one, to remove this multiplicity. Then the third we can say progeny. That is again a desire for oneness. That yes, it is all really one, all is coming from me. So you see that although there are the many offsprings, but all the mother sees as her own extensions. It is sees the oneness in all of them. It is a very natural idea that, and therefore the desire for progeny is so strong. It is that gives rise to another equally strong desire, sex. That it is, there are other reasons for that, but this is a very prominent desire that yes, to remain, because the desire to survive is also included in that. A person sees that I am going to die, but my life will continue through my children. My lineage will continue. I will be living in form of all of them. So, and continuation, like one particle in a thread, it's small, but then it is connected to another particle, and as a thread they feel oneness. So as a lineage, there is this idea of oneness. We belong to the same lineage. I remember there was a group of musicians playing when I had gone to Rochester, and I asked one of them, they were very cooperative and very friendly, very closely connected with each other. So I asked them, are you related? Are you a family? Are you a family? And the intelligent man asks me another question. That family, what do you mean? Musical family? Then I had to be more explicit that what I mean is, are you a biological genetic family? And again he answers with a question. He asked the question, that depends on how far you want to go back. So if you go back to up to monkeys, probably we all are in a family. So it is, are we in a family? It is perception of a oneness of the all beings, that we are all, as a family, we are one. So we are all together here. So this is, the progeny is also, desire for progeny is an expression of desire to be one. Then there is the desire for happiness. We know that it is expression of oneness. Happiness, I mean here the pleasures. That the separation is removed in enjoying an object. What do we do? like, say, enjoying a cake. I like a cake. I get happiness by eating a cake. So, the separation between cake as an object and the eater is removed in the process. Cake there and I here, no happiness. When the cake and I become one, then there is happiness. Even that young boy understands this. Very simple, you see. So the happiness also actually is an expression that that oneness is sought in that. Then knowledge. We have the desire for knowledge. And what is knowledge? To find a common thread. All these different things that we get intrigued by that how this happens and why this is working and why the sun rises like this. I saw it there yesterday, but why is it coming right there? Who controls that motion? So many questions come up. And then when we know, we feel happy. Yes, now I know what controls the motion of the sun, and thus why it rises exactly in the same direction every day. It will be, just imagine how more puzzled we will be if suddenly the sun is seen as rising in the opposite direction. It will be a totally baffling situation for all of us. It will be, in fact, psychologically catastrophic to see the sun suddenly rising in what we perceive as West. It will change all. The Eastern philosophy will be called Western philosophy, you see. So it is, all will be completely changed. So when we know these things, there is a sense that yes, now the known and the knower, they have become a kind of come together. We find a thread of commonality, that and all multiplicity is kind of strung in thread, what we call law. Swami Vivekananda has mentioned this many times, that look, what is a law? Like, say, law of gravitation. So many things fall. You throw a ball, it falls. You throw a chair, that will, don't throw, but it will also fall down. Whatever you see, so many different actions, they are all, or so many events, they are all strung together in the law of gravitation. We therefore call it knowledge. If just once something fell down, and then we are intrigued by why this happens, and then we see that no, all things fall. If you throw them, they all come down to earth. So we get a thread of binding them together. Why does the moon does not land doom on earth? Or all the other planets and stars that we see, why do they not fall? Law of gravitation provides an answer to that too. So these billions of events, all these questions, they are strung together in this law of gravitation. And so we call it knowledge, because the multiplicity is strung into oneness. So, knowledge is again actually a search for oneness. Therefore, Swami Vivekananda says that if you find one force of which all other forces are just manifestation, physics as a science will come to an end. That is Einstein's dream, unified field theory. So find one force of which all other forces are manifestations. So it is bringing that into oneness. He says if you find one single thing which is the substance in all, then chemistry will come to an end. There will be, because it will reach its culmination. Coming to an end means it will reach its culmination. There is no further knowledge to be gotten in that discipline anymore. So, oneness is the goal of all knowledge. Then we have the desire for peace. We want, after a lot of rush here and there, everywhere running about, and meeting hundreds of people, attending big parties, and then after filling our head with all those things, what do we feel? Let me be at now peace. Let me be alone. Please leave me alone. We are all looking for peace. It is, the mind is restless, our all limbs, they are playing riot, even with our in single body, they appear to be all divided, going in all different directions, and we want peace. Means nothing else should be there to bother me. Even my multiplicity of thoughts become that also becomes a botheration. So people meditate to calm down all these effervescence of continuously rising thoughts and emotions, and then they feel, yes, I am coming now at peace. So it is also one. When it is just one, you cannot even think of restlessness. Peace is automatic with one. And with multiplicity, the more the diversity, more will be the sense of restlessness. When we see unity in diversity, then peace becomes automatically established there. So the desire for peace also is actually a desire for oneness. So all these desires actually we put together in one word. We like to put in one word, suggest one word for all these things. We human beings have found one word for that. A word has been coined where all our desires get satisfied. All that we are looking for is contained in that one, and that is called God. Very simple word, that which is all goodness, all that oneness, everything that we have been looking for, that is all fulfilled there. So we see, although it is this complex situation, when we again this multiple things we put in one, we feel satisfied. Okay, now we don't need to run after many things. We just go to one place and all those things will be taken care of. It is like we go, if we want to buy many different things, then we go to mall, so there will be all at one place you will be able to buy all different things. It is a mega store, so where everything you want will be found in one place. So God is one place, one thing, where all our aspirations are a big variety of that. They are all put together. That is God. Therefore, God does not exist for the one who has no desire. There is no desire, there is no feeling of separation, there is no need for God. God is, that very thing is God. Where there is a separation, human beings cannot eliminate the need for God. They may not use the word God, but using any other word actually means the same idea, that I want put that want, take a big box in which put all your wants. That is what is called God. Every want is put into that. Do we not pray to God for all these things that we were saying? For example, all our protection. Oh Lord, protect me from sin and ill, we say. The famous Jesus prayer, that protect me from sin, protect me from this, protect me from that, even protect me from flu. We pray to, okay, my neighbor got it, hopefully I don't get it. Oh Lord, don't let flu come to me. So it is all these things we seek from God. Love, God, progeny, God. How much prayers and all that go into it. Everything that we seek, happiness, the desire for that, put into this word God. Knowledge, peace, all these are kind of congealed together in this God. And therefore we see God also as all these. We expect these things from God, therefore it is a double arrow there. That we put these things in God, and then we expect that we will have God fulfilling all these things for us. They come from the God, we seek God, and then it is we get everything that we have been seeking. That is how we explore now that yes, we want to get connected now to God. And this is, we have to bring it at the level of our tangible perception. That whenever we seek something, let me seek happiness. Well, that is the source, God. Connect to God. I am actually trying to connect to God. When I am seeking knowledge, it is God. Let me connect to God. Because that is the summation of all that we are looking for. So, instead of going in all different things, we are going just to God, so that all these things we can expect, whatever we expect we can get from there. So now we come to the concrete connections. What connections do we have? And these connections are now, we can look at that. One is through knowledge. Our knowledge, because it brings oneness, we connect to that through knowledge. We try to increase our knowledge, but this increase of knowledge has actually two completely different dimensions, or let us say it is a variety. There is one way of knowing is to expand the knowledge horizontally. Other ways to expand it in the vertical dimension. Let me explain it further, that if you are on the same plane, whatever is applicable to this plane is applicable to many, in fact everything that is on this plane, it is connected. So knowledge on one plane you can keep on expanding. That is, for example, the properties of electricity. Then whatever that electricity can generate for you, whatever it can bring for you, whatever different types of instruments and gadgets it can make for you, it is expansion on the horizontal plane. Expansion on the vertical plane is seeing that what is this electricity after all. Okay, Now I understood what it is. Now let me go beyond. Let me go further. Let me leave this plane. I have to then power my that desire for knowledge with a great force, such force that it will get the escape velocity. This is a principle in physics that most of you must have studied in high schools, that if you throw a ball in the sky, normally it will come down as much as that high and as much fast you can throw. But suppose you can generate this speed, certain speed, which is not commonly possible by your hands, but suppose you can generate by something that speed, then it will go up, will not come back. That is called the escape velocity. So, if we push our minds that, okay, I have seen what is on this earth, this plane. On this plane I have seen whatever is to be known. There will be variety, but this is, I have in principle understood whatever it can give. It can give only this much. So now let me go beyond this. And then you come to a very different level of knowledge. Then you see that, then push yourself further. Then you transcend that plane. So that is the vertical growth of knowledge. And that is very important, friends. This vertical dimension of gaining knowledge. It has been asked in one of the Upanishads, this question was asked, that how, knowing what, one will be able to know everything? Because we want to know everything. Why should I be ignorant of anything? I want to know this, I want to know that. We see that practically it will be an impossibility to know everything in that manner. But there is one way of knowing everything. When the question was asked to the sage in Mundak Upanishad, the sage says, look, the knowledge itself has these two varieties. The lower knowledge, which just explores the transient things, which come and go, which continuously change, and therefore that is called lower knowledge, because whatever you know is subject to change, and therefore actually you have not known anything, because it is subject to change. Sometime you say that coffee is good for you, then they say coffee is not good for you. It is all that, it is a knowledge that is continuously changing knowledge. So therefore that is one thing. The other type of knowledge is this. And he uses very beautiful word, yaya. These Sanskrit words are great. Yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. The other knowledge, the higher knowledge is that by which you know that which does not change. That knowledge is the higher knowledge. And that knowledge brings the complete, total satisfaction to you. It is real knowledge because it bridges this gap completely. We can see that desires means really gaps. And this gap, therefore, we see desire is a gap. What I have and what I need to have. There is a schism in that. And so, desire is this gap. But when you get this high knowledge, knowledge of the unchanging reality, then this gap is bridged completely. Then through love, ordinarily we see the love that although it brings a sense of oneness, there is again separations. There is again dissensions and all that. That oneness doesn't last because it is basically trying to bring two things together. And thus, two never actually gets brought into one. But suppose we can see the one that appears as many, then you reach the oneness which is not forcibly bringing two into one, but seeing the underlying spontaneous oneness. And thus, that is true love. Then there is the third avenue. We will explore these, we will discuss these more in the next class, next Sunday. Then through work. Work is a connection. I am working for this. Now, if we learn to work for God, it is again a complex thing, but then we will then form a connection with God. Why am I doing this? I am doing this for God. So, whatever, like somebody is working, say, for Brown University, so that work is the connection between that person and the Brown University. So, if you are working for God, then what do you form connection with? You form connection with God. So, that is another avenue for connecting. And then, through the control of our mind and body, through meditational practices and all, that is another avenue by which we can learn to calm down our mind and thus see the unity, the oneness that already is. So, these four actually are four different forms of yoga. You all are aware, you know this word yoga. It is sometimes in United States, it is mostly pronounced as yoga. It is not yoga, it is yoga. Because of the spellings, you know, it is yoga. And the English word yoke is actually, it is derivative of this Sanskrit word yoga. Yoke means you form a connection, like horse is yoked to the carriage. Means now the horse and the carriage, they are connected. So it is yoking is this forming this connection, making that which are apparently disconnected, disjoint, bringing them together, connected. So all these are forms of yoga. The yoga of knowledge, the Sanskrit word is jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge. Through love, it is called yoga of devotion, bhakti yoga. Through work, it gets called karma yoga, yoga of action. And through this control, psychic control, it is called Raja yoga. So, these are four different connections, the yoga. So, through yoga, we realize the truth. We have now found connections. And now, by using these connections, now we can get connected. And we have found the connections. Now, using these connections, we will get connected. And that will be the topic for the discussion next Sunday.